All right, I wanted to make a quick video about our process and the process that we use to run all of our customers through to create content for them and build the founder's personal brand. And this is what it looks like. I nerded out a little bit about it. So it's always the same 6 activities that we run customers through: target audience definition, content ideation, style and thought leadership definition, developing a perspective, then the actual content creation, the content distribution, and then the iteration loop. And I'm going to go through this in more detail in a second. How did we arrive at this process? Basically through a lot of trial and error. When I started out, I was doing freelancing and consulting for personal brands, and it was always different. Each project was different, and it was mostly just based on my intuition. And what that meant is that there was a lot of variability between the results that I got for the customers. Some got really good results, some didn't get great results, and it was, always different. And then last year in 2020, when COVID hit, we needed to figure out a way, because people were spending less money, so they weren't willing to spend money on branding and nice to have things. So I needed to figure out how to tighten our process in a way that we can deliver results in a more streamlined, direct, quicker way with higher confidence that will work out. And so we kind of looked at the customers that got good results and realized that we were always doing similar steps for them, just intuitively and not explicitly, and then built the process around that. And then once we implemented it last year, we've now done a bunch of iteration and changed a bunch of things, and this is where we arrived. So let's walk through things. Our content ideation process and how we create content and how we ideate content is to a large extent based around the concept on the 3 types of trust. So I'll just quickly go over it. Basically, any prospect who will ever buy from you needs to trust you. More specifically, there are 3 different types of trust that you need to build with them. So number 1, people need to trust that you know what you're talking about. That's basically that you're an expert in your field. What we call that subject matter expertise content. Some people call that thought leadership content. Same idea. 2, people need to trust that you can deliver on your promise or claims, right? Whatever you tell people on your website, whatever you tell people in your proposals, people need to trust that you can actually do that for people reliably. And so that's where testimonials come in, where case studies come in, credibility content. And then the last one, especially important in B2B, where you enter into a relationship with a customer and it's not a one-off transaction like buying a coffee. People need to trust that they will like working with you. So you need to establish at least a baseline rapport with people. And so that's again a different type of content that you need to create to build rapport, which is more based on anecdotes, stories, personal content. So this is at the core of kind of how we create content. All right, but let's jump in. First step, audience definition. We need to know who we're going to talk to in the content, right? And so we have a very extensive onboarding questionnaire that customers fill out in the onboarding. And it's, I think, over 50 questions by now. And so we go into, obviously, your ideal customer profile. Who are the locations, industries, company sizes, job titles that you're selling to? But more importantly, we dig into the desires and emotions of the people that you're selling to. So there are psychometrics. What are their goals? What are they currently doing to solve their problems? What are their desired activities, problems, roadblocks, frustrations, fears, suspicions? All of these are inputs to create content for you that will actually resonate with your customers. And we need to define these in the onboarding in depth so that we know how to create content for you that will resonate with your market. Then we also define your message market fit. Basically, what this means in this context is that we understand your tone of voice. We understand the language, terminology that your customers speak so that we can speak in their language. Once that's defined, and again, that happens in the onboarding, we go into the content ideation. So we help you come up with content. Actually, we come up with all of your content ideas. We come up with questions for you. It's always based on the same content pillars that we define for you. Subject matter expertise, which is the first type of trust. Case studies, credibility is the second type of trust. And then company culture and personal stories is the third type of trust, rapport. And so each of these four things has their own inputs. For company culture is, hiring and people, your values, mission, principles, the lesson that you learn growing a company. For personal stories, it's hobbies, side projects, stories, anecdotes, previous experience, previous jobs, you going to college, all of that stuff. And then subject matter expertise, thought leadership content, that's really answering and solving your customers' problems, addressing their desires, addressing their frustrations, addressing their pain points, adding your 2 cents on industry news. So all of these different things are inputs here, and we define these for you. So we create kind of recurring themes that we're going to come back to over and over again. Third activity, style and thought leadership definition. So once we know what we're going to talk about, we're going to need to figure out how to talk about it, which is just as important, because you might have a good topic, you might have a good question, you might have a good insight that's useful to your audience. But if you can't frame it and explain it in a way that makes sense and that stands out from the noise, no one will consume that content, right? So we have 2 frameworks that we use here and apply to your content. Newness, relevancy, controversy is the first one. Basically, the idea is for any content to stand out and resonate with your customers, there need to be at least 2 of the 3 given, which is newness and relevancy. That just means, is the insight new? Is this something they haven't heard before? Or is there a new angle, new example, new context that you're adding, right? If you're sharing something that your prospects have heard 50 times before, they're not going to pay attention. Second, it needs to be relevant, right? So it needs to actually address what we defined here, their specific goals, their specific frustrations. Otherwise, you're going to talk past them. And then controversy is kind of like the cherry on top. We don't want to create controversy for the sake of controversy, but we want to make sure that whatever the things that you stand for, whatever the things that your company stands for, your beliefs, opinions, where you differ from the general consensus, that we pay attention to these, because those are the exact things that have the potential to go viral. And then the second one, educational, entertaining, empowering, basically just means people consume content for one of 3 reasons: either to be educated, learn something they didn't know before, to be entertained, right, to laugh or smile, and then to feel empowered, which just means, feel like they can do it too. The Nike just do it ad kind of falls into this category. And we do this active on our recording sessions. So we do a lot of coaching and help you make sure that for each piece of content that we create, we follow this framework so that we don't create content that's kind of rambling, kind of irrelevant, and nothing new and tried. That we pay attention for each new piece of content that we create, that it's crisp, that it's new, that it's relevant, and that it's teaching people something that is actionable. Activity 4, once that's done, we go into the actual content creation, right? And so the way that we do it for customers is that we batch it. So every 2 weeks, we meet with you on a bi-weekly recording session where we record all videos with you for the next 2 weeks in one go. So we're there with you. We prepare questions that we ideated for you. We ask you those questions. You answer the questions. We record the whole thing, and each of your answers to each question is one video, one piece of content. So it's kind of like an interview, right? We ask you questions, you answer them. Because we're there live with you, we can do lots of coaching and feedback. So we'll make sure that you don't ramble. We'll make sure that you don't say anything you shouldn't say. We'll make sure that you follow best practices, add a juicy first line, add a call to action or question to the audience at the end. All of these little details that matter, we're there with you, right? So you don't have to worry about it. You also don't have to worry about setting up a camera, and is the lighting right, and is my audio good? All of these little things that you worry about when you try to create your own videos, because we're there with you, we make sure of them. So you only need to show up and answer a couple of questions. Once that's done, we edit all your videos. So we remove all the ums and ahs, pauses, we add captions, subtitles, we create thumbnails for each of the videos. We create 2 versions for each video, for YouTube and for feed platforms. We'll, if you have a pause in between, we cut that out. So all the best practices, we make sure that you get edited videos, and we write the copy for you. We have a process around that, exactly how we write copy, There's another video where I go exactly into that. We always write copy in a way that it's a standalone piece of content, so that basically for each video that we record, you also get a text post that you can use as a blog post or wherever else that's a standalone text post. Once that's done, you approve it, you review the content. Once it's approved, we distribute the content. So we currently do, and at the time of you watching, maybe we've added other channels to it, but currently we publish in 4 different places. We publish the videos for you on your personal LinkedIn page, personal LinkedIn profile. We post them on your company's LinkedIn page. We create a YouTube account, YouTube channel for your company, where we also upload all of the videos, do all the tagging and the YouTube SEO. And then we create a twice monthly newsletter for you that we send out to your email list using your email software every 2 weeks, where we send them basically the best performing video of the prior 2-week period. So we use the organic metrics that we got on LinkedIn to then share it to your email list. We also create a content library. There's a video further down, what are exactly all the things that we do with your content. And then lastly, iteration loop, very important. So we create a monthly report for you that goes exactly into each piece of content. What were the best performing videos? Which were the worst performing videos? Hypothesis of why they did well and why they did badly. And then key takeaways and action items, how we're going to adjust your content strategy going forward in the next month using the insights that we got from the organic metrics on, for example, LinkedIn. So we make sure that we, pay attention to what resonates, do more of what works, do less of what didn't work. So it's not just a blind effort hoping that we kind of came up with the right things here in the beginning, but it's also a constant iteration loop where if something doesn't resonate, it might mean that we need to develop a different perspective, that we need to come up with some new different topics, that we need to make some adjustments to the target audience definition here, but all of that happens in the iteration loop. So that's it. I hope that was helpful and insightful.